So for sure, we need Supreme Court reform ASAP. I have a number of bills for that if I could just get, enough Democrats to help me get this done. But we need ethics reform. We need to expand the court. There's a lot that we need to do with this Supreme Court because of how utterly trash they are. So.
Boy. So once again, we got to talk about the Democrats who are only useful for being agents of chaos and destruction. And this is part of the reason why they're always coming up with new plans to try to rig the election in their favor, right? I mean, they are essentially plotting what they're going to do if/when they ever take back power. Basically, if they just so happen to win in 2028, they're already coming up with plans and ideas on how they can rig the Senate in their favor, and the Supreme Court as well too. Okay, they want to pack the court, and they want to make DC a state. I think they want to make Puerto Rico a state as well too. This is stuff that Blue Anon, the Democrat Party extremists, and probably some establishment Democrats as well too, they're currently planning this. They're saying this openly out loud that this is what they want to do if they take back power and control. Take a look.
Democratic strategist James Carville has a pretty extreme agenda, I would say, for his party, starting with packing the Supreme Court.
This is the lowest the Supreme Court has been rated. I think the way to cure that very quickly is expand it to 13 and get some balance on the court.
President Biden did not do that, but James Carville would like to. He also wants to bring 2 more states into the union.
The Democrats are going to have to move to admit the District of Columbia and Puerto Rico states because right now, because we're 18% of the United States elects 52 senators.
So pack the court, create 2 new states. Well, how's he going to do it? You would need 60 votes, and you're not going to have 60 votes in the Senate. That's just not the way the country is made up. Are you going to eliminate the filibuster?
I would carve out for those 2 things, yes.
I wonder what my next guest thinks of all that. Democratic Senator John Fetterman is here. Senator Fetterman, is that the agenda for the Democratic Party? Should you pack the court, add 2 states, eliminate part of the filibuster?
Yeah, well, when I ran for the Senate back in the 21-22, I rejected those things. I strongly rejected trying to pack the Supreme Court or to change those things. We were the Democrats. It's like, you don't change the rules if you didn't win. It's like win more elections, and then you are able to change those dynamics the way it was designed to be in the Constitution right now. So I strongly reject that.
Yeah, well, Democrats don't want to actually win fair and square, right? They want to try to rig things in their favor, right? Again, this is why they're openly discussing trying to pack the Supreme Court. They're openly discussing making DC a state, making Puerto Rico a state. They also want to allow teenagers and kids to be able to vote. And we already know the obvious reason why they want kids and teenagers to be able to vote is because they're easily influenced by Democrat Party propaganda.
I think we should reduce voting age to 16. I'll tell you why. So, Gen Z, they're age about 13 through 27. They've only known the climate crisis. They missed substantial parts of their education because of the pandemic. If they're in high school or college, especially in college, it is very likely that whatever they've chosen as their major for study may not result in an affordable wage. They've coined the term climate anxiety to describe fear of not only being able to buy a home, but that fear will be wiped out by extreme weather, but fear of having children. It is expected that Gen Z will have 10 to 12 jobs in their lifetime. They are a larger number than boomers. They're a specific generation of people who are going to impact our nation and the world. And I think we must invest in them, but I think that they are rightly impatient with a lot of what is the tradition of leadership right now. And if they were able to vote because they know everything that's happening right now is going to impact them more than anybody older than them for the most part, in terms of how these systems work. If they're voting right now at 16 and up, they're going to be talking about the importance of climate. They're going to be talking about the importance of figuring out how AI is going to affect the future of the workforce. They're going to be focused on what are we really doing about affordable housing? And basically in politics, here's the hard truth about this. There are two centers of power that tend to influence how politicians think. Groups that vote the most and people who write the most checks. And I'm going to go every day with the people, and thinking about how do we strengthen people actually going to the polls and voting.
This is part of the reason why it's important for people to remember what you're voting for, okay, when you go out and you vote, right? To not sit at home and to allow Democrats to win and to gain back power and control, because if/when they gain back power and control, this is what they're going to try to do, right? They're going to try to keep power and control forever. And they're coming up with new ways in order to rig the system in their favor. And lo and behold, we have a new scheme from Democrats in order to rig things in their favor, which is apparently they want to allow people to vote by phone. To vote by phone. Yeah, this is what Eric Swalwell suggested on CNN when discussing his campaign for governor. Yes, Eric Swalwell, who, allegedly, right, doesn't live in California. We don't know. He may or may not live in California. We don't know based off mortgage fraud allegations. But this guy is saying, he wants to allow people to vote by phone. Take a look.
And set a tone that, California is open to business, particularly small business and entrepreneurs.
But right now, the state's leadership is all Democratic.
Yes.
Democratic governor,
Yes.
2 Democratic senators, Democratic supermajorities. Don't Democrats bear some of the responsibility or most of the responsibility for the fact that it's so expensive in this state?
Well, look, we are suffering inflation across the country.
But we've been having this problem before all the inflation issues.
Sure. And I'm not going to look to the past. I'm running to be the governor next year. And so what I'm telling you, what I'm going to do.
In terms of taking the fight to Donald Trump, I know you're close with him. But from a policy perspective, is there any major change?
I want to modernize the state. And, he wrote a book called Citizenville, which I read when I was up and coming. And he laid out a lot of, great ideas then, and he implemented some of them. And he, was a modernizing force. He's leaving. And so there is going to be a void. I want us to be able to vote by phone. I think every Californian
vote by phone.
Vote by phone. Yeah, if we can do our taxes, do our make our healthcare appointments, make essentially do your banking online. You should be able to vote by phone. Make it safe, make it secure, but it's actually already happening all over the United States. I want us to be a blue state that doesn't do just a little bit better than like Georgia or Alabama when it comes to like voting access. I want us to max out democracy. Also, as it relates to democracy, if you wait in line for 30 minutes or more, if you do want to vote in person, I think you should fine every county for every minute that a person has to wait longer. We have to be better, not just a little bit better than the other states.
Wow. It's always something new with these people. Pack the Supreme Court. Make D.C. and Puerto Rico states. They want to lower the voting age to 16, right? Next thing you know, it'll be 12, and then it'll be 9, right? Now they want to allow people to vote by phone. Voting by phone. What could go wrong? Allowing people to vote by phone. I'm sure that will make our election secure, right? Again, Democrats want to make it as easy as possible to vote for multiple reasons. One, they know that the more dumb people that vote, the more people who don't really participate in our elections, who don't really pay attention to what's going on, they know that those people, if they vote, they're likely going to vote for Democrats because Democrats run on free stuff, right? And when you're running on freebies, idiots are going to be more likely to vote for you, okay? The people who are not motivated to get off the couch and vote, they're going to be more likely to vote if they can just, vote on their phone, right? So that's one of the reasons. The other reason is because they know that voting by phone probably would not be very secure, right? It would not be a secure way to vote at all. And that is part of the reason why they want that, right? Because they know that it can be taken advantage of by illegal immigrants. Also, you have individuals who will probably take advantage of the elderly, right? Could you imagine all the individuals who will probably take the phone of their grandma, their grandpa, or whatever, individuals who are not technologically literate, and they will manipulate the phone in order to vote in a way that they want their grandparents to vote. Like, again, this could be abused in so many different ways. So many different ways. But that's what Democrats want. They want to make this system as easy as possible to abuse. Instead of just saying, hey, you know what? Let's win elections fair and square. Let's just, actually enact policies that will help people, that will motivate people to actually vote for Democrats. No. Let's just figure out more ways to rig it, right? Let's get as many ignorant folks as possible to vote, right? Teenagers, people who are impressionable. Let's get them to vote, who haven't had enough life experience, who haven't paid enough taxes to be voting on anything, right? To be making any decisions. Yeah, those people should vote. The people who aren't paying attention, who aren't motivated to get off the couch, yeah, they should vote. Illegals should vote. Non-citizens should vote, right? Everybody should vote. That is what Democrats believe, and they will come up with the wackiest ideas in order to make it happen, because they know that's the only way that they can win. The only way that they can win is if they're actively trying to rig the system in their favor. And that's why you continue to see these ideas get more and more and more insane. Voting by phone is probably one of the most insane ideas that I've ever heard, right? It's absolutely ludicrous. It's a ludicrous idea. It's one of those things that's like, yeah, you just want lazy people to be able to vote as easily as possible. You want the system to not be secure, right? You want it to be something you can easily manipulate. That's what they want. And that's where these ideas come from, because they can't win fair and square. If you can win fair and square, you don't need to rig the system in order to win. You don't need to do that. But when you can't win fair and square, this is what you do. The main thing the Democrats are going to be running on, I guarantee you, come 2028 is, well, how do we, quote unquote, expand democracy, right? That's what they're going to be running on, right? How do we make it impossible for Republicans to win? How do we make it impossible for somebody like Trump to ever take power and control ever again, right? How do we keep Democrats in power forever? That's going to be their plan. That's going to be Project 2029. That is what Democrats are working on.
Did y'all see what Cartman said about Project 2029? Watch this.
Project 2029. Let's fucking go. Tax the rich. Tax the churches. Equal rights for all. Ban assault weapons. Make secondary education affordable. Remove presidential immunity. Set term limits for SCOTUS and expand the court to 13. Reinstate a women's right to choose and codify it into law. Double the minimum wage. Require all government employees to list their pronouns just to be petty as fuck. Feel free to add any additions in the comments. Let's fucking do this. And if anyone asks, we know nothing about Project 2029.
Yeah, that's basically the Democrat agenda in a nutshell, right? That is what they're going to be running on. And a part of their plan, again, is to make it impossible for Republicans to win, which is why it's important for people to understand what's at stake, right? In these coming elections, in the midterms, in 2028, that Democrats, they're power hungry, and they're going to do anything they can in order to try to maintain power and control and to make sure that Republicans never win again, and trying to essentially rig these elections in their favor. That is a core part of what they want to do. This is why they want to make DC a state, Puerto Rico a state. They want to allow you to vote by phone, right? They want 16-year-olds to vote. They want to expand the court. Anything to rig the system in their favor. That's what they got, right? When you got bad ideas, this is what you got to do. So let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.